So should I introduce everyone, Alberto?
Yeah, so we can start the panel. In this case, Ricky is the moderator. So, Ricky, let me do some Spanish words for the attendance people. Ok, hola a todos. Este es el taller que es sobre código abierto en computación cuántica. Aquí tenemos gente de diferentes compañías como son Unitary, qBraid y IBM Quantum, y por parte de comunidades open source y fines de lucro como es Quantum Universal Education y Quantum Open Source Foundation, perdón. Y nosotros vamos y bueno, aquí va a ser el panel para que ustedes hagan preguntas, si pueden en inglés o en español, nosotros las vamos a traducir, y queremos con la finalidad que entiendan un poquito más cuáles son la importancia del código abierto en este ámbito de la computación cuántica. So, Ricky, you want to start? You can do it.
All right. I don't know, how do you want me to start this? I mean, I can say the same thing as well. Well, not the same thing, but I can say it again in English, I guess. Hi everyone. Welcome to the panel on open source of open source and quantum computing. We have some 5 esteemed guests here. Sam from University of Tokyo, and another admin here, the Quantum Universal Education.
I'm at Keio University. Just sorry, quickly at University of Tokyo.
Well, yeah.
That's all right. Go on. Sorry.
We have Claudia, and Claudia, and from Qiskit developer at IBM. I've just got to read your descriptions. Misty Wahl from the from Unitary front, Ryan Hill from qBraid, and Sai from QOSF. Yeah.
I think Ricky is so nervous in this moment. Okay, first of all, tell us about, well, we know qBraid, Unitary Fund, Quantum Universal Education, Quantum Open Source Foundation. So everyone, can you tell us the importance, the open source in your companies or in your non-profit companies, I will call to say, or communities? We can start with Ryan.
The question was, what is the importance of open source at our company?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So at qBraid, we are a cloud-based platform for people to develop their quantum code and execute it on quantum devices. So open source is extremely important to us because we are providing these, like the open source packages are a means through which users can interact with not only build quantum circuits, but interact with quantum hardware. And they're kind of the cornerstone with which we provide our own software on our cloud-based platform. So we provide virtual environments for Qiskit, PennyLane, Circ, etc., as well as access to those quantum devices. And it's kind of it's very fundamental to what we do at qBraid, open source. Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. Misty, can you tell us the same? Well, it's the same question.
Well, at Unitary Fund, we like to say, in fact, our tagline is open source is our identity. So we really, yeah, that is our way of building up the quantum tech ecosystem. It's our way of building up the community. And that means like everything from the microgrant projects, you know, one of the requirements in the, you know, of a successful project is to have it open source, or, you know, have it open to the community so that they can use it, so that they can make their own contributions to it, and they can share it with their communities in turn. So it's really fundamental to what we're doing at Unitary Fund. And in fact, it's, you know, how a lot of us got involved. I was an open source contributor to MITIC before I was on technical staff. And there are many people in our community who have similar stories if that's how they got into quantum technology.
Thank you, Misty. Actually, it was very interesting answer. Like Ryan, different point of view, but I think the same goal. Say, can you tell us more about Quantum Open Source Foundation and the relevant part of the open source in this community?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, basically the name itself is like Quantum Open Source Foundation, right? Like it's completely open source. So basically what happens in QSF is we try to bring mentors from different companies. Like for this cohort, that is the 6th batch. Basically we are running the QSF for the past 5 batches, and this is the 6th batch that is currently like happening from the September to January of 2022 to 2023. So basically, the main motto of QSF is to bring mentors from different companies that they have projects with them. So basically, we pair them with the mentees based upon the screening task that is basically designed by Alberto. So Alberto designs the screening task, and basically we pair them with the mentees. So mentors will get the best mentees out of the out of the students that have registered with us. So and it's non-profit organization. Just to add that.
Okay, thank you, Sais. Claudia, you can tell us more about the same question as the previous, the relevant part of the open source in IBM Quantum?
Hi, well, open source projects are very important for building communities and also for the individuals, in the sense that everyone can learn a lot. So when you participate in a open source project, you will be able to learn from the more experienced people that is working already there. And also you can learn how things are managed inside big projects. For example, Qiskit project is really big. So if you start to looking at it, you will learn how it's managed and how there are a lot of guidelines, for example, so you must read them, must follow them, and in that way you can participate in that big project. Also, small projects are very insightful and important to collaborate in them.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. And Sam, do you have? It's your turn. Do you have any answer about the importance of the open source in quantum universal education?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, nothing to. I don't think I'm going to point out anything that hasn't been already said by everyone else. But maybe I can touch up on a bit of a background of like how Peak came to be and how open source contributions are important to us. So yeah, just a bit of a background. I'm also representing Quantum Universal Education here. We have Ricky and Alberto here and Leah from the session from yesterday, who are also members and admins and co-founders of this group. And it started off as with the intention of allowing a place, kind of like a platform for students and early stage learners and anyone who's interested to learn about quantum computing and quantum technologies, to be able to interact with each other and learn together. A lot of conventional, traditional learning methodologies, university courses they have certain limitations. And we just wanted to try and make it more accessible to people who might not have access to those kinds of resources or those kinds of programs. So we wanted to just sort of open up this space to let anyone, regardless of their background, just be able to learn and ask questions and just work together. And I feel like it touches on some really important aspects of open source contribution. So things like it encourages contribution. So we have a space where people can contribute and curate topics on quantum computing, information about any kinds of like algorithms or technologies or anything they find interesting, and in the process learn themselves and teach one another. It also, I feel, adds to community innovation. So if there are existing projects, people can people from all around the world can take a look and improve upon those projects. And it also allows people to have an impact on the community in general and be able to publicly share their work now, because people put a lot of time and effort into these kinds of things, and it's important to be recognized. So I feel like Peak is able to cover a lot of these really important aspects of open source contribution.
Thank you so much, Sam. Actually, continue with the next question is, Ryan, how you can involve in quantum computing? And it was relevant use open source code, frameworks, books, or resources in general in your professional career in quantum computing?
Yeah, so how I got started, I started my journey in quantum doing research in quantum machine learning at Cornell, where I did my undergrad and master's. And during that time, I kind of got, I was learning Penny Lane and how to use it, and became pretty involved in the Penny Lane community to the point that I wasn't just using it for my research, but I was also making code contributions and being a part of the community, answering other people's questions online. After I finished school, I kind of continued doing that and branched out to Qiskit and also some other front-end kind of quantum software libraries. When I joined qBraid, one of the first things that I did in developing our SDK was establish a way in which to transpile circuits between every available, or some of those popular front-end circuit building packages, including Qiskit, Circ, Penny Lane, PyQuil, Amazon Braket, to any other of those languages, and also interact with their devices in a way that was super easy. So through that time and building the qBraid SDK, which interfaces between all these different softwares, I became very entrenched in each of these communities, and kind of over the past year have seen how the massive amount of growth that each of them had, and it's been really cool to see kind of how these communities have grown, and the code and kind of the things that people were building with them is just really evolved since I started.
Thank you so much for your answer, Ryan. Misty, the same question. Can you answer it?
Well, first I want to say it's nice to meet another Cornellian. I'm class of 2012. So, yeah, my background is in mechanical engineering, so kind of removed from the quantum software space. But I gradually got interested in quantum computing and quantum software, first through kind of like a tech talk given by IBM, and just learning it on my own. But I would say, like, yeah, what really got me into the field was contributing to open source. So actually in spring 2021, I started contributing to MITIC, which is a error mitigation toolkit in Python that is kind of like Unitary Fund's like in-house research project, but we've made it open source. And that was actually part of a hackathon that we sponsor called Unitary Hack. And that's a way of getting, the community to contribute and giving out prizes for solving various issues in each of these open source projects that we're somehow affiliated with that come together for this event. So that's how I got started, was kind of like this competition where, we have 2 weeks to solve as many issues as you can. and win a prize. And after that, I just enjoyed it so much that I continued contributing to Mythic and started like feature development. And this was all in addition to like my day job as an engineering project manager by that point. And finally, yeah, I just got, more familiar with error mitigation, with quantum error mitigation through that, and got to know the team and became technical staff earlier this year. So really, I think that's, it demonstrates that contributing to open source really can jumpstart your career in quantum computing or in many other fields, any really classical software also, if that's what you're interested in. And yeah, just encourage the community here to take a look at the projects, see what excites you and inspires you, and just get started. You can do a tutorial example like I did, or you can try to fix a bug, and you can start small and then you can build from there. And you might be surprised how quickly you progress through that.
Oh, thank you, Misty. That is a great answer, actually. Very informative. Sai, your turn about the second question.
Yeah, I'll go for it. So basically, I'm an undergrad senior pursuing electrical and electronics engineering. So my journey started when COVID hit us. So basically, I was watching this movie Transcendence by Johnny Depp, and he uses quantum computers to solve human world problems. And then I just typed quantum computers in the Google, and the very next year, IBM started to introduce quantum computing courses like qubit by qubit course, and all of these courses were introduced by IBM. So that's how my journey started, and I slowly got into it. So, and also I worked on a research project called quantum natural language processing for sentiment analysis under Srinjoy Ganguly. So basically, we try to divide the sentiments using QNLP by Cambridge Quantum and Lambek Toolkit. And also I haven't very much contributed to open source, but when I look back, so that is one of the biggest regret in my in this quantum computing journey, because I'm not aware, and at the same time I was unable to. So now if someone asks me, so how to get into quantum computing, like how to add value to yourself, add name to your then I would definitely suggest them to there are a lot of bugs in the IBM. If you go to any GitHub resource, any GitHub repo, so there are a lot of bugs provided, so you can directly jump onto them. And also I would like to thank the big companies. They are hosting hackathons, and they're also hosting challenges like the Fall Fest is the Fall Fest is coming very soon, IBM Fall Fest. So yeah, that's how it all started. So now if someone asks me, I would definitely suggest them to contribute to the open source, because that you never know how long you're going, as Misty suggested. So when you look back, you will definitely love it.
Thank you so much, Sai. Claudia, can you tell us your answer about this question?
Yeah. Well, I first studied computer engineering, and after that I just studied physics. So in there is where I learned about quantum computation. And in that moment, I started to take as many courses as I could, both in person and online. And when I started to learn more about it, I met the communities and also know about all the open source projects in quantum computing. So I started to collaborate in those projects. For example, I have collaborated with the Matter Lab group from Toronto University as a mentee of the Quantum Computing Mentorship Program from QOSF. And I also collaborated as an intern in Quantum Flytrap. In there, I developed some libraries. For each project, let me learn different things. For example, in the mentorship program. I learn about CIC calculus. I also have to learn about QASM specification. So it's really enrichment to involve in a project because you have to learn some things, and it is always useful to learn more the topics about quantum computation. For example, I am also project supporting Qiskit localization core team, and also the leader for the Spanish translations in the Qiskit localization project. And that collaboration allowed me to learn about new features in Qiskit as they are delivered. Because when I have to translate the information, I have to read all the documentation. I am also collaborated with some notebooks from qWorld and Latvia University. They have a Q course, and there I have written some part of that material. And of course, when you have to think how to explain things, you learn more deeply the concept. So I think collaborating in open source projects is really important in the process of learning and learning better all the topics that are involved in a field, in this case, quantum computation. And of course, share your knowledge to others is really satisfying, right?
Hey, it's actually very impressive, Claudia. Thank you so much for your answer. And finally, Sam, can you tell us your experience in this, how you learn quantum computing and the
Sure.
importance of learning?
I took a lot of time last time, so I'll try and make it snappy. I'll give you a TLDR version. So final year of bachelor's in computer science, found physics really cool. Saw a video on YouTube about quantum computing by IBM, checked out the IBM Quantum Experience website, so saw that I could make my own quantum circuits, interact with simulators and with real devices. Thought that was really cool. Next thing I know, I was spending hours on like just what absorbing videos, tutorials, anything that was available online and for free. Contributing on GitHub, joining hackathons, eventually applying for Qiskit advocates, becoming one of the first advocates, then contributing to that community more and more. So I'm from India, but we didn't have a lot of discussion around quantum computing back in 2018, 2019-ish. So started a community with friends to talk about quantum computing, hosted meetups, hosted hackathons, just got more people discussing, more people engaged into this field, and bring people from different fields. And that's what quantum computing is all about, right? It's a highly interdisciplinary, and it's just that's the most fun aspect of it. So and now I'm doing a grad program in quantum computing. I've had the fortune of just getting to meet a lot of smart and a lot of cool people, including our panelists. So listen to what they're saying if you're interested in a career in quantum computing, and if you're interested in an open source contribution, they had the right idea. Follow their stories, follow their advice, and just have fun with whatever you're doing. Like pick something that you're interested in and just go for it. And next thing you know, you'll be sucked into this incredible world of just a lot of cool stuff. So that's it.
I think all our panelists are very involved in an open source project. Actually, I try to do in this moment a sponsor because qBraid for Ryan and Tal, well, they are planning doing a hackathon this weekend about using qBraid. So that is another opportunity. Side by side for Quantum Open Source Foundation, they finish a course 6 about trying to motivate persons to understand quantum computing. Misty from Unitary Fund, they designs and survive to understand more the open source project or people interested in using projects about quantum computing. In the case for Claudia, IBM the next month will do a challenge. It's free and using IBM Quantum, in this case, Qiskit. And in the case for your Quantum Universal Education, this is this event is part of this. So, oh my God, practically each company, each project is very involved in this case. Ricky, can you help me with the question for the audience in the chat?
Sure, I
Yeah,
can
there's a
help.
few questions in the chat already.
No, Ricky. Ricky, you know.
Sorry, yeah,
Ricky.
I understand now. Okay, bye.
Oh,
So-
not Ricky. No, me, Ricky. Right. Well, let me find it. Okay, so the first question from Miguel and kind of a follow-up from Isaac. So are there any quantum internship opportunities in the open source contributions for any of the communities present? And if there are, what do you suggest as like guidance to apply for those?
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone answer?
Yeah. So currently we are having cohort 6 in QSF. So where it's like providing an internship, but it's non-profit. So basically we, like there are 12 mentors in this cohort. So each mentor will, based upon the project, each mentor will decide how many members he or she requires. So we are open as of now. So the deadlines are like not very far. They are very close. But still, if you want to still apply to the cohort, so you are able to. I'll drop a link in the chat, so you can go there and you can apply. So it's basically there are 4 tasks and you need to solve one of them. And based upon your based upon the way you solved, you will be awarded some marks, and based upon that, mentors will take you. So I'll drop a link to that in the chat. So if you are interested, so please go ahead and apply. And I'll also drop the link to the website where there are where the mentors have provided the projects basically. So yeah.
Thank you, Sais. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can add something to that. I would say that, like, in my experience, open source is a great kind of way to get involved in industry, kind of without the overhead of an internship in and of itself. You can go to any of these open source repositories and right away look at the issues that are present and try to solve one of them and create a pull request. And if it gets pulled in, then you're already contributing. And if you create a pattern of doing that, then you could become, super, like, very involved in a project, without any formal internship type of position. And this is a great way to show some of these companies that you may be interested in that you can contribute at the level of code that is required to work there or be a member of that engineering team. So I would say, yeah, if you're interested in an internship at a certain company, I would say just dive into their issues and just start seeing if there's any that you can solve right away.
Yeah, I would second what Ryan just said. In fact, that's what I did. I didn't have a formal internship at Unitary Fund. I just started solving issues in MITIC. But there are some opportunities available, not directly through Unitary Fund, but one of them is qBit by qBit. So that's actually a past microgrant project that we sponsored, and then now they're their own organization. And they have internships as part of their program, and they actually sent us a couple of interns over the summer. So while we don't hire directly for internships at this point, we did actually have interns working on our projects through qBit by qBit. The other one I just thought of is the Xanadu residency program. That's kind of what they call their internship program. So I say definitely check that out, especially if you're interested in quantum machine learning and penny lane and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I just want to quickly highlight while we're on this topic, the PEAK group, the Quantum Universal Education Group, is also funded by Unitary Fund. So we also are a Unitary Fund microgrant winner. So here's a live example of if you have an idea, if you have something that you want to work on in quantum open source, reach out to people, do open source contributions, and you have all the opportunity you need. So just be fearless, go ahead with it.
Thanks also for the reminder, Sam. So another way to get involved is if you have an idea for a project that you just want to do yourself, you can apply for a microgrant at Unitary Fund, and that's also a great experience to have in open source. And I will say that, if you have a link to your GitHub profile or your GitHub repository, like we look at those when we look at applications. So that's another contributing to open source is another way to demonstrate that you have the experience you need to take on an internship, a microgrant project, or eventually a full-time position.
Thank you so much for the answer. Very informative about this kind of part. The next question.
So the next question comes from Andres. Are there any downsides to having an open source community?
Anyone? Is there a downside to having an open source community? Anyone? Ricky, Misty, Say, Sam, Claudia?
I guess it depends on the context, right? Like I don't know, could we maybe get a little further info on what, like in what type of project maybe we're talking about?
I think in the meantime, maybe I could speak to one of the challenges. I don't know if I would say it's so much a downside, but it's kind of something that is maybe a bit tricky to address in open source. And that is that, you're relying on volunteers. And so that means that they don't always have time available to work on issues. And sometimes that means like longer, unpredictable timelines. And that's actually kind of an open question for us as we start to, as we further develop MITIC and it matures as a open source project, is how do we plan for the availability of people who are just doing this, because they like to do it, but they have other responsibilities.
Actually, I think every company has a community group. It could be in Discord or Slack, right? If you want, you can share the links, Misty, Ryan, Say, Claudia, Sans, because I think it's very important how they can connect with your communities. Thank you for your answers.
All right. So the next question comes from Hugo. Is it necessary to learn several tools, for example, Qiskit or Penny to develop in the field of quantum computing?
Well,
Anyone?
yeah, I would like to say that in order to collaborate to quantum open source projects, you don't need to learn about a specific library at the beginning. You can learn as you go, but you must know some essential tools. For example, how to use JIT, because JIT plays an essential role in open source contributions. And another thing is you must identify your skills and how do you want to contribute. And also you can start with small things. Some projects use the tag good first issue. You can start there. And also it is very important to read the contributing guidelines. Usually these projects has this file that enlists all the guidelines that you must follow when you create a contribution. And also before you create any issue or PR, it is a good idea to to review if already exists a similar PR. And also you can ask to be assigned to an issue before starting to work on it. So, and there are a lot of people working on the same thing. And also, well, don't be shy, always be kind, and read the code of conduct corresponding to the project you want to collaborate. That's it.
Thank you, Claudia. Actually, I think if you want to understand those different frameworks, I think qBraid is the proposal, right? Try to connect with a lot of frameworks like Qiskit, PNLN, and try to learn more into these environments, Amazon brackets. So, yeah, I think it's important exist qBraid to try to identify the benefits or understand what is the best fit for a specific framework, like say Claudia. I think that is very impressive because it could be difficult, like Claudia, how you can start quantum computing or SAMs and try to connect in this kind of tools, understand more quantum computing and try to participate in open communities is very important. Thank you so much, Claudia. The next questions.
Another question comes from Francisco. So for everyone, in order to have a good structure inside the nonprofit organization, what do you think is the milestone or strategy to get funding or to get funds or grants to get the budget to operate these nonprofits?
Maybe I can quickly touch up on this if yeah, so I'll just quickly point out, having at least a reasonable amount of structure is important for any open source project, especially since Misty mentioned earlier that you're working with volunteers who might be scattered all across the globe and may have other commitments, may have other things that they need to get back to, and not always have an equally dedicated amount of time to work on whatever open source project you're working on. So as a group, as a unit, you really need to flesh that out. And at least for us, it worked that way because initially when we all were fairly new to this experience, we were getting to know each other as a team. And so it was important to set schedules, to set timelines. And when you're applying, it's good to have like a proof of concept is always nice if you have a vision of what you want to achieve, say in a certain time, in 3, 6, 12 months, and where you want to see the project grow. If it's a technical project, then you would want to lay out the technical flow of it. I'd say a good example of that would be something like Qiskit ecosystem. So if you go on and check out their repository, they have a very, very fine detailed instructions on how you can follow contributing to like open source software projects on a timeline. So I think that's a really good example that you can look at. For us, it was more of a community-based project and how we wanted to see it grow. And essentially the idea was to create a platform for people to have discussions and just all sorts of community activities around quantum computing and just promote quantum education as accessibly as possible. So we laid out the platforms for it. We tried to promote it as much as possible. And so we eventually learned to work together over time. So I think you of course learn a lot on the job, but that's I'd say setting some near-term and some long-term goals is always nice.
Thank you so much, Sam. The next questions we have? I think we had other questions, right?
Yeah, there's a few more questions. So from Isaac, from a more research point of view, is it difficult to publish scientific papers from open source contributions to major projects?
Everyone? Claudia, Misty.
I mean, from the MITIC side of things, we've published a few times, and some of those are kind of directly using MITIC or characterizing it. Others are kind of more like connected, related areas of error mitigation. But I'm not sure. Maybe this is also looking at maybe larger open source projects. And I think MITIC is still pretty small, so it's a bit more self-contained, and I think that makes it a bit more straightforward.
Well, I can share my experience here. For example, when I participated in the with the Matter Lab group, I add some features to their software called Tequila, and they published a paper about that software, and I was included as an author because my contribution was well enough, let's say. And of course, sometimes I have seen a lot of papers that use the libraries. You don't need to build a new library in order to publish something, but you can use a library and publish results about it, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add up on that, you can use libraries provided in IBM, especially because IBM has different areas they are focusing on, like chemistry, finance, and everything. Like you can benchmark the results using the IBM's IBM machines and IBM all of that, and you can literally publish a paper. Like I don't think it should be difficult. Once you specify the area. Like if you want to work in the finance, you can choose the open source, like for example IBM, and then you can work on it, and you can go for publications.
Okay, thank you so much, Simon and Claudia. Actually, interesting answers. Continue with this. We had a question, but let me do another question. Well, we know you are very well. We can finish the question in the chat, and I can do another question. Sorry.
All right. I mean, there's only there's 2 more questions, and if anyone else has any more questions, please feel free to enter into the chat. Ernesto asks if anyone has any book recommendations or online videos or repositories that they can learn off of.
Book recommendations about open source development.
He doesn't specify.
I think it could be general.
That or quantum computing in general, maybe as well.
Okay.
Yeah, he specifies quantum computing in the chat.
The other question is, I think we had another question.
Yeah, and then if from Andres, if any of the communities here can send like a link or where they can find the guidelines to contribute to their projects.
So those guidelines usually are in the corresponding repository for the open source project. So you can search for the specific information in the project you want to collaborate.
Yeah. Sorry. Go on. Sorry.
No. Yeah, like I was just recommending the Nielsen and Chong book. Like basically, it's a basic. I mean, it's a famous book that usually people refer to in the QC community. So like from my side, that book would be my recommendation, because it goes from the like very basic to like all the algorithms and all.
yeah, quickly pointing out about guidelines. That's right. Yeah, if you're looking to work on a specific project or a specific open source repository, everything is usually on the home page. See the README file if it's and if you wish to develop open source projects in the future, a good pointer would be to make sure that the README has all the information that's needed to understand what the project is about. If people wish to learn more about it, if they wish to contribute to it, having a well structured, a brief but resourceful README file is just super helpful. It saves a lot of time and gets people started immediately. So yeah, just a heads up on that.
Thank you so much, Hans. So I had a questions for all of you. What is starting with Ryan, tell us more about qBraid. What is the complexity? What is the objective of this company and framework in this case? Can you tell us more? And the relevant parts using in the open source community.
Yeah, sure. So so on qBraid, we provide a cloud-based platform to develop your code in Quantum. So basically, you'll create an account, you'll log on to lab.qbraid.com, and we'll give you a kind of a IDE/JupyterLab interface that already is integrated with all the different Quantum open source projects. So instead of navigating to the GitHub repo, doing a git clone onto your local machine, creating a Conda virtual environment or a Python virtual environment, doing the pip installs, running the initial tests, to make sure that everything's configured correctly, we kind of give you the open source project working out of the box. So just through a really easy graphical user interface, you just click install. So for example, Matik or Qiskit or whatever the package may be, you'll click install, it'll finish installing, you'll click activate, and then automatically you can just use that package right out of the box, and you don't have to mess with all the dependency conflicts, and we take care of all the updates upon new releases and things like that. In the context of Amazon Braket and Qiskit, we provide you access to the hardware available through those platforms without having to create an account in those third parties. So we handle all the authentication as well. So hopefully, like what we're going for is just lowering the barrier to entry to get started using Quantum open source projects and coding using these projects, and kind of remove that sometimes tedious setup procedure and allow you to do all that in the cloud.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I think it's very important more for the hackathon in the next week, for your hackathon and our hackathon. So I think it's very important to keep a look about this qBraid framework. Misty, the same question, but in this case for Mythic, and I think Unitary Falll support another frameworks. So you can tell us more about this?
Yeah, so Mythic is one of our internal research projects at Unitary Fund. I mean, internally driven, that is. So the technical staff work on it primarily, but then of course it is open to the community for contributions. And Mythic is a quantum error mitigation toolkit in Python. And so, right, we know that NISQ quantum computers have errors. And before we can really implement error correction at scale, one way to squeeze as much performance as we can out of NISQ devices is to apply error mitigation techniques. And probably the simplest one to understand is zero noise extrapolation. It's also the most popular. So that is extrapolating expectation values by scaling the noise and then extrapolating back to the zero noise limit. And so, at least theoretically, getting a more accurate result. And this is typically applied to things like variational quantum algorithms where we're interested in expectation values. And let's see, about Mythic itself, I already mentioned that it's in Python. We're hosted on GitHub. We have about 50 contributors at this point. We also have community calls every Friday at 9 a.m. US Pacific time. And that's hosted on our Discord. Anyone can join those calls and learn more.
Actually, very interesting that part for the community calls, because you can connect with the, in this case, with the company, right?
Yes, you can connect with the technical staff at Unitary Fund directly, and that's actually how I got to know the team. And also our ambassadors typically join those calls. So we also have like some super volunteers who've been involved for a while and have made some significant contributions to the library. And now, you know, they have some kind of more administrative roles as well.
Hey, thank you, Misty. Ryan, you had community calls in your server or similar thing for the communities? Well, for the
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't get that.
okay. You had a similar thing like community calls in the Discord server for qBraid, or
Yeah, we have a Discord server, and we also have a community repo on our GitHub, and I can link our GitHub. Our GitHub has all of our relevant links to all of our socials, Discords, chats, everything, and I'll drop that link in the chat. Additionally, I'll also put my personal LinkedIn in the chat, and if anyone's interested in using qBraid to develop with open source, I can reach out to me and I'll give you an access code that'll give you like premium access to all of our features and start you off with $10 of credits as well to access quantum hardware.
oh. Thank you, Ryan. that is very a good answer, actually. Say you had similar like the previous community calls, connect with another persons in the community for Quantum Open Source Foundation, or the activities for the mentorship programs?
Basically, no, like we don't usually conduct community calls like every weekend or, you know, like in the weekdays. So basically what happens is like the cohort runs twice a year. So after the mentor, you know, like chose the mentee, so mentor will directly connect with the mentee, like the, you know, like we provide a platform for them. And then both of them we discuss about both of them so basically, you know, like and like we put them on the committee and the mentorship program.
Thank you, Sai. Claudia, the same question in case for IBM Quantum?
Well, I just well, I want you to remember that no contribution is too small. So don't think that if you only find, for example, a typo, it is not worth it. It is worth it. So please make a PR to fix that typo. If you see something, please do something about it. At least you can raise an issue in order to people to know that there is a small error in there. And of course, you can go for minor bugs also. You can also create some tests for the core code. You can also help by reviewing some pull requests. Also, you can create tutorials or expand the documentation that is already there. The translations is another way to contribute. And revisit all the issues and validate that the issue is still there in order to close the issue. Well, in the case of Qiskit, there are codes written in Python, C++, Julia, JavaScript. So if you already know any of those languages, you can start there.
Thank you, Claudia. And finally, the last word by Sam.
Right. Since the whole idea of Peak is to have connections within the quantum community, so the best place is to just get started on the Discord server that we have, because all the information, all the updates, all the announcements about events or anything that's coming up in the quantum community space is shared first there. So I think the best way to connect is to join our Discord server. And in the past, we've tried a lot of interesting things. So in addition to encouraging people in the community to contribute and curate resources, create their own projects, posts, games, anything that helps learning quantum computing more accessible, helps them learn and helps others learn. We highly encourage that, and if you do so, we also ship out a T-shirt to you that members of the team have designed, which has I guess hand-created diagrams, images of different kinds of quantum computing architecture hardware. So it's also like a fun little Easter egg hunt. In addition to that, when it comes to like calls, community connections, engagement, we do things like journal club meetings where we pick out papers that we agree on are approachable and are easy to read especially for beginners, and host Discord calls around that and invite everyone to read the paper beforehand, bring questions, and just have a fun time learning and explaining it to each other. In addition to that, also some other fun things like creating comics and hosting meme contests, having Secret Santa-like events, essentially just supporting each other and supporting other online community events as well, including this hackathon. I think is part of what we do best.
Thank you so much. And so we can conclude. It doesn't matter if you're a company, you're for a non-profit community. It's so important works with open source projects. Actually, the companies work with open source projects, and they motivate other persons, more students, to connect with these frameworks, projects, research projects, and try to motivate in quantum computing, because we know, like Sam, it's impossible to try to do a career in quantum computing undergrad or side, but you need to connect with friends, with the companies, another person around the world, because I think the companies is not only a building, it's more a connection, a network with a lot of different countries. I think we are moving the classical job, because it's more internet interaction with other person and around the world, and try to speak the same language, quantum computers, or in this case, quantum mechanics. So thank you so much, Ryan, Misty, Say, Claudia, and Sam, for your time. Your answer is very important to me, and I think for all the attendance people, about the important and relevant part of the open source in this, in the quantum computing. And like the story of by Misty and Ryan, finish a career, and after that, quantum computing job. I think that is the goal in this case.
Thanks for organizing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Misty.
having us,
thanks.
Alberto, Ricky. You're
thanks.
great hosts.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alberto and Ricky. It was great. It was great discussing here with like-minded peers.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
you are
great to meet
all
all of you. Yeah.
superstar the community group. So it's a pleasure to see all of you joining in this hour. Thank you so much. So, bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.